Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating, surprising, and mind-blowing stories in the world of coin collecting and hidden treasures of American history, because today we are going to explore the legendary and mysterious 1975's D1 cent coin that has captured the attention of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike, not just for its humble appearance as a simple penny but for the astonishing fact that due to a combination of errors, mistakes, and rare possibilities, it has been valued at an extraordinary $17 million, making it one of the most valuable and coveted modern cents in history. And as we journey through this incredible story together, we will uncover why such an ordinary piece of copper-plated metal minted in Denver in 1975 has managed to command a price tag that could buy a mansion, luxury cars, or even change a family's financial future forever. So stay with me, because the deeper we go, the more we begin to realize how mistakes at the mint, small imperfections, and even simple quirks in design can turn a coin worth a single cent into something worth millions. And the tale of the 1975 D penny is filled with fascinating twists that highlight both the science and the mystery of numismatics. Beginning with the context of the mid-1970s, when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents every year, and the Denver Mint, marked with its signature's D mint mark, was responsible for churning out a huge portion of them. Yet in the chaos of mass production, errors sometimes occurred, and it is precisely these errors that make a coin like the 1975 D penny with its unique flaws a golden ticket for collectors, because unlike ordinary coins that circulate in millions, these flawed coins are often one of a kind or part of an extremely limited batch, which makes them rare, unique, and extremely desirable. Now, when we talk about errors that can elevate a coin to such a staggering value as $17 million, we are not just talking about simple scratches or everyday wear. No, we are talking about dramatic minting mistakes like double strikes where the coin is struck twice, leaving a ghostly shadow of Lincoln's portrait, off-center strikes where only part of the design appears on the coin, leaving large blank areas of metal, planchet errors where the coin might have been struck on the wrong kind of metal blank, such as a foreign planchet or even a dime planchet, giving it an unusual size or weight, and most fascinatingly double dies where parts of the design appear duplicated, such as the date, lettering, or even Lincoln's features, creating an eye-catching and unmistakable error that collectors would pay fortunes to own. And in the case of the 1975 D penny, there have been reports of examples that showcase multiple errors at once, combinations so rare that they defy the odds of production. For instance, coins with double dies on the date while also showing off center striking, or examples struck on bronze planchets left over from pre-year 1982 issues when the composition was shifting, and this blend of features instantly made such pieces the stuff of legend. Now imagine yourself finding such a coin in your pocket change, not realizing that the tiny cent you are holding could pay off debts, buy a dream home, or set up your children's future, because this is the true magic of error coins. They circulate like ordinary money but are secretly worth life-changing sums, and collectors hunt endlessly for these rare examples because each one tells a story of human error, mechanical failure, and pure chance that slipped through the strict controls of the minting process. So why specifically $17 million, you might ask? And the answer lies in the combination of scarcity, demand, condition, and uniqueness, because a coin like the 1975 D penny with certain dramatic errors is not just a collector's item, it is a piece of art, history, and rarity wrapped into one. And when two or more wealthy collectors with deep passion for numismatics compete for ownership, prices skyrocket to astronomical levels. And this is how legends are made, because auction houses have seen bidding wars drive prices beyond anyone's expectations. And when you add the mystique of a Denver Mint issue from 1975, a year already notable for its shifts in US coinage production, you get the perfect recipe for a numismatic superstar. Now let's explore some of the specific errors rumored and reported with the 1975 D penny that make it such a unicorn in the coin world, starting with the double die obverse error, where the date 1975 and sometimes even the motto "In God We Trust" appears doubled, giving the coin an unmistakable visual uniqueness, and paired with a sharp mint mark D from Denver, this variation stands out as one of the most talked about rarities. Next we have off-center strikes, some of which show Lincoln's portrait pushed so far off that only half of it appears, with the rest of the coin showing blank copper surface, and such dramatic off-center strikes are always prized, especially when the date remains visible, because that confirms its identity and rarity. Then there are examples struck on foreign planchets, which happened more often than people realize, because the mint was also striking coins for other nations in the 1970s. And occasionally blanks from foreign contracts were mistakenly fed into the penny presses, resulting in undersized or oddly weighted 1975's D cents that collectors immediately recognize as special. And then there are transitional planchette errors, where a 1975 D penny might have been struck on a leftover bronze blank when the mint was experimenting with different compositions, or even on experimental planchets that were not supposed to be released, and those are the holy grail for specialists. But perhaps the most thrilling possibility is a coin that combines multiple errors, for example a doubled die obverse, struck off-center, on a wrong planchette, with an unusual mint mark placement, and it is coins like this that explain how one can fetch a jaw-dropping $17 million because they become one-of-a-kind works of art forged accidentally by the mint itself. And this is where imagination meets reality, because even though these coins were not intended to exist, their very existence tells us about the hidden flaws in one of the most precise and controlled manufacturing systems in the world, which makes them treasures of history and technology alike. And this is why collectors are willing to pay fortunes. Now consider the historical backdrop of 1975, the year the Vietnam War ended. The country was facing economic struggles, inflation was rising, and yet the mint was still producing billions of coins for circulation, and in such a busy environment mistakes could slip through unnoticed, which adds another layer of charm to the 1975's D penny story, because it connects the coin not only to minting technology but also to the wider social and economic fabric of its time. So when you hold a 1975's D penny with a rare error, you are not just holding metal, you are holding a tangible piece of 1970s American history, and that amplifies its collectible appeal. Now let's also touch on condition, because collectors pay exponentially more for coins in pristine uncirculated condition, known as mint state. And if a rare 1975's D penny error survived the decades without scratches, dirt, or heavy wear, its value could easily climb into the millions, especially if graded and authenticated by top services like PCGS or NGC, because certification is the golden seal that assures buyers they're getting the real thing. And in auctions, certified error coins regularly break records, and when combined with the hype of rarity and mystery, prices soar into the range of $17 million or beyond. Now imagine the possibilities out there today, because many people still have jars, drawers, or piggy banks filled with old pennies from the 1970s, and it is entirely possible that one of those forgotten coins could be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. And this is why collectors urge people to always check their change, because while the odds are slim, the payoff is enormous, and countless stories exist of ordinary people finding extraordinary coins worth life-changing sums. So the 1975 D penny with its $17 million price tag is more than just a coin, it is a symbol of possibility, luck, history, and the thrill of the hunt. And this is what makes numismatics so addictive and exciting, because every coin tells a story and every pocket change holds a mystery. So next time you come across a 1975 penny with a little D under the date, take a closer look, because you never know if you might be holding one of the most valuable cents in existence, a coin that carries the weight of mistakes, the power of rarity, and the potential to change your life forever. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of the 1975 D1 cent and its legendary $17 million valuation. And if you love stories like this about coins worth big money, hidden treasures, and numismatic mysteries, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us on more incredible journeys into the world of history, money, and the treasures that might just be hiding in your pocket. Next! Today we are going to uncover the mystery and immense value behind the 1989 D1 cent coin, a coin that on the surface may look like nothing more than a simple Lincoln cent minted in Denver, yet in reality has captivated collectors and historians alike because of its incredible rarity, astonishing errors, and the story of how one such coin could be valued as high as $8 million. And as we take this journey together, you'll begin to see that what makes this coin so desirable is not only its mistakes during production but also the possibilities, historical background, and the mystique that surrounds it in the numismatic world, because the truth is errors can sometimes be more valuable than perfection, and nowhere is that more true than with the 1989 D penny, a coin struck during a time when billions of Lincoln cents were being minted each year. Yet hidden among those billions is one that stands out not for its intended design, but for the quirks, the missteps, and the unusual circumstances that occurred during its striking, because errors come in many forms such as double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, wrong planchette strikes, misaligned dies, and missing details, and collectors will pay astonishing sums for these pieces since each represents a one-of-a-kind creation of history, and in the case of the 1989 AD cent, certain varieties are believed to have escaped into circulation with dramatic mistakes that elevate them into the realm of the nearly priceless. And when we talk about an $8 million penny, we are really talking about a perfect storm of rarity, demand, condition, and intrigue, because not every era coin becomes this valuable, but when all of these elements combine, they create a legend, and the 1989 AD has all the right ingredients, beginning with the fact that the Denver Mint in 1989 was using copper-plated zinc planchets, a composition that itself often produced striking errors because the thin copper coating could blister, peel, or cause weak strikes, resulting in odd surface anomalies that fascinated collectors. And beyond that, there were errors involving off-metal planchets, where some 1989 AD cents were struck accidentally on dime stock or foreign coin blanks, which made them instantly desirable. And then you have double die obverse or reverse examples, where the image of Lincoln or the lettering appears doubled, giving the coin an unusual and eye-catching look, and the discovery of any of these types instantly multiplies its worth. But to reach values like $8 million, the coin has to go even further, combining unique circumstances like being the only known specimen of its kind, surviving in near-perfect condition despite circulation, and having a provenance or backstory that sets it apart from all others. And that's what has been whispered about the 1989 AD penny. That one coin exists with a combination of errors so extraordinary that it could command such a price if ever sold at auction. And when you think about the way collectors and investors flock to coins with reputations, you realize how hype, history, and rarity fuel each other in this market. So imagine a 1989 D with an off-center strike showing a dramatic crescent of blank planchette, combined with a double die reverse where the Lincoln Memorial shows ghost-like doubling, all preserved in mint state condition with red luster. And you can see how such a coin would become the stuff of legend. Because no two era coins are identical, each one is a fingerprint of history, a frozen moment of the minting process gone wrong, and that uniqueness makes them irresistible to those who want to own something no one else can. And when people talk about this coin reaching millions, they are not exaggerating, because we have seen in the past how era coins have fetched astronomical prices, such as the 1955 double die cent or the 1943 copper penny, coins that became famous through their mistakes and are now valued in the hundreds of thousands or millions. And the 1989 D with its supposed extreme rarity joins this pantheon, as its story circulates among collectors, investors, and enthusiasts who dream of finding one tucked away in an old jar of change. And speaking of possibilities, that is what makes coins like these so engaging, because anyone could be holding one unknowingly. A simple coin from 1989 that might carry hidden value if examined closely under magnification, showing subtle doubling on the lettering, a mint mark misplaced, a crack running across Lincoln's portrait, or a dramatic off-center strike that escaped detection. And that chance, that possibility, is what fuels the excitement and keeps people searching. And the idea that 1 cent could turn into $8 million is the ultimate treasure hunt, blending history, art, and luck into one small copper-plated disc. And as we dive deeper, let's remember that 1989 was a transitional year for many. The Cold War was nearing its end, the Berlin Wall was about to fall, and in America coins like the Lincoln cent continued their steady production. Yet tucked into that year's mintage of billions lies a secret that could rewrite a collector's fortune. And with the Denver Mint producing so many, the chances of minting errors were higher, but very few survived in conditions pristine enough to make them extraordinary. So those that did are cherished beyond belief. And when auction houses hear whispers of such coins, values skyrocket, because rarity and competition drive prices to levels unimaginable. And beyond the technical aspects of errors, there is the psychological factor, because owning a coin like the 1989 $8 million penny isn't just about possessing metal, it's about holding a symbol of chance, history, and rarity combined. It's about prestige, legacy, and the bragging rights that come with owning a coin that virtually no one else in the world can claim. And this psychological demand, combined with the scarcity of the piece, ensures that its price can soar. So when you think about how such a coin could ever be valued at $8 million, you must factor in not only its physical mistakes but also its story, the mythos that surrounds it, the way it inspires dreams of treasure in anyone who hears its name. And that, more than anything, is what makes it so valuable. So as we close this exploration, remember that coins are more than money, they are artifacts of human error, artistry, and history. And sometimes, just sometimes, 1 tiny cent can change everything. So if you've enjoyed this incredible journey into the hidden world of the 1989 D 1 cent worth $8 million, Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating stories of rare coins and treasures that continue to inspire wonder around the world. Today we are about to dive into is one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable values connected to everyday pocket change, and in this case it all revolves around the 1998 D1 coin, a small copper-plated zinc penny that many people overlook every single day, yet because of its incredible rarity and the errors and mistakes found in a handful of examples, this coin has achieved a legendary reputation for being worth an astonishing $4.70 million, a figure that seems impossible when you first hear it but becomes clear once you begin to understand how numismatics works, how errors are created, and how collectors will pay extraordinary amounts of money for coins that combine historical importance, rarity, and visual uniqueness. So today let us go on this journey together and unravel the mystery of how such a humble coin minted in 1998 at the Denver Mint could be transformed into one of the most desirable treasures in American coin collecting history. And as we unfold this story, we will not just talk about the value but also the reasons behind the errors, the possibilities of what went wrong at the mint, the demand among collectors, and the sheer excitement that builds when you realize that something you could find in your own change might just be worth millions. Which is why collectors keep their eyes sharp for these legendary pieces, because missing them means passing by a fortune hiding in plain sight. And to begin with, we should remember that in 1998 the United States Mint was striking billions of pennies made mostly from zinc with a thin copper plating, and because production runs were so large, mistakes did sometimes slip through. But what makes the 1998 D penny so remarkable is that the kinds of mistakes tied to its high value are both rare and dramatic, starting with double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, planchet errors, and sometimes even transitional design confusion that occurred between the late 1990s and early 2000s as the mint experimented with dies and design elements, and when such errors happen they instantly create varieties that collectors desperately chase because they represent unique snapshots of history, and the 1998 D penny in particular has a lore attached to it for having a bold double die obverse where the details on Lincoln's portrait and the inscriptions show noticeable doubling under magnification, making it visually striking and distinct from normal strikes. And unlike regular pennies that trade hands every day with no second thought, such a double die penny can command staggering sums because its rarity multiplies its demand. And alongside this type of error we also see examples of off-center strikes in 1998 D pennies where the dies struck the coin improperly aligned, producing coins that appear with Lincoln's portrait pushed partly off the surface, with blank crescent-shaped areas that collectors find especially appealing because they demonstrate clear mint mishaps. And while such coins can vary in value depending on how far off-center the strike is, the more dramatic examples with readable dates and mint marks are in price. And then there are broad strikes where the retaining collar that normally holds the planchet in place fails, allowing the metal to spread wider than normal, creating a coin that looks stretched and unusual. And those kinds of mistakes also add to the story of the 1998 D cent. And moving deeper, we encounter die cracks where tiny breaks in the die during production left raised lines or extra metal on the coin surface, giving it a unique character. And while some cracks are minor, others are bold and collectible. And then there are planchet errors, where the blank used for striking is flawed, sometimes missing plating, sometimes clipped, and sometimes showing incomplete preparation, which gives the coin a rugged, one-of-a-kind look. And of course there is the especially intriguing category of transitional or experimental dies, because in the late 1990s the mint was preparing for changes to the reverse designs of the Lincoln cent that would emerge later, and any overlap of dies or mismatched usage during production can lead to astonishing mistakes, with one rumored 1998 D coin displaying evidence of a reverse design intended for proof issues rather than regular circulation. An error that electrifies collectors because it suggests a mixing of production processes that should never have happened. And when you gather together all of these potential mistakes and realize that only a tiny number of them survive today in high grade, you start to understand why collectors view the 1998 D penny as a treasure worth millions, because it combines the common and the ordinary with the extraordinary and the impossible, turning a 1-cent coin into a $4.7 million legend. And the psychology of collecting plays a role here too, because humans are drawn to anomalies, to things that stand apart from the mass-produced world. And when you think about billions of pennies being identical yet one or two being strikingly different, the value lies in that difference, and collectors compete fiercely at auctions, driving the price higher and higher until figures like $4.7 million are realized. And this also connects to the broader narrative of coin errors in American history because error coins tell us stories about the imperfections of human and mechanical processes, reminding us that even in a system designed for precision, mistakes occur, and sometimes those mistakes become history themselves. And what's fascinating is that many people have these coins sitting unknowingly in jars, drawers, or rolls from the bank, which is why collectors constantly encourage the public to search through their change because the next fortune might just be waiting in a penny roll. And beyond the specific errors already mentioned, there is also the possibility of repunched mint marks, where the Denver Deed mint mark was stamped more than once at slightly different angles or positions, creating a doubling effect that collectors hunt for obsessively. And such details might seem small, but in the world of numismatics even the tiniest variation can mean the difference between a penny worth face value and one worth a fortune. And it is not just about the errors but also the condition. Because a coin with a rare error that has survived in pristine uncirculated condition with full luster and no wear will always command a higher price than the same error in worn condition, which is why grading agencies like PCGS and NGC play a massive role in verifying and authenticating such coins, giving buyers the confidence that what they are bidding on is genuine and accurately graded. And for the 1998 D penny in particular, high-grade examples with spectacular errors are few and far between, which multiplies the rarity and pushes values into the millions. And when we talk about possibilities, we also have to consider the human element at the mint, because sometimes employees experimented with dies, struck off metal coins, or unintentionally allowed unusual pieces to escape. And while the official mint policy was strict, history shows us that oddities occasionally left the building, fueling the collector market decades later. And so when we talk about the 1998 D penny fetching $4.7 million, it is not just the cold facts of supply and demand but also the law, the possibility, the dream that fuels collectors' imaginations, making this coin not just metal but a symbol of discovery and rarity. And what makes the story even more compelling is that such coins don't sit in museums but often surface in unexpected ways, perhaps in a dealer's stock, a yard sale, or a forgotten jar in someone's attic, transforming ordinary people into millionaires overnight when they realize the treasure they hold. And as we move through this story, it is clear that the legend of the 1998 D penny is not only about the coin itself but also about what it represents, the hidden value in everyday life, the possibility that mistakes can sometimes create greatness, and the thrill of the hunt that drives collectors to keep searching. And that is why even today people carefully inspect 1998 D pennies under magnification, hoping to spot doubling on the letters, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, or mint mark oddities that could turn their penny into a piece of history. And while most 1998 D pennies will remain ordinary, those rare examples with dramatic errors are destined to remain in the spotlight, continuing to capture imaginations and headlines, reminding us that treasure does not always come in gold bars or ancient relics but sometimes in the humble form of a Lincoln cent. And so as we wrap this journey through the story of the 1998 D penny and its unbelievable $4.7 million value, it is important to remember that what makes it truly valuable is not just the coin itself but the passion of the collectors, the mistakes of the mint, the accidents of history, and the endless human fascination with rarity and discovery. And that is why the next time you see a penny from 1998 with a little D under the date, don't just toss it aside, because it might be the key to life-changing wealth. And with that, I want to thank you all for staying with me through this deep dive into the story of one of the most extraordinary coins in modern American history. And if you enjoyed this journey, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more amazing stories of coins, history, and treasures that just might be hiding in your pocket right now.